Welcome to the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel. Today I'm joined by FPL Salah to preview Game Week 2. Abdul, a pretty good start for you in Game Week 1, but captaincy this week is going to be the focus of this video because it's very, very close. So just off the bat, before we look back at your team from Game Week 1 and saw how you did, what are your thoughts on captaincy for Game Week 2?
Yeah, I think it's quite close. For me, it's between Palmer and Salah. But Haaland's got a good fixture. Saka's got an amazing fixture. So depending on which kind of premiums you've got, it's going to be a tough call across the board. But for me, I think it's between them two. And currently, I've got it on Salah. I just think he is just. I trust Salah a lot more right now than I do Palmer. Although the fixture is harder because Newcastle away is not an easy game. West Ham is the much better fixture, but Salah. So when in doubt, just go with the king of FPL.
And what if you had every player in the game? What if you weren't limited to your team?
It has to be Saka, I think, this week with Leeds at home. I mean, Haaland's got a good fixture as well. Spurs at home, but I can see City winning that game quite comfortably. It's not the same Spurs of last season. I know we spoke about this last week. We do think that Spurs are going to be better defensively, although they're not suddenly going to become like a top four defense. But I'd be surprised if City put like 4 or 5 past them. I think maybe 2 or 3 max. So Haaland's a great option. Leeds are quite impressive against Everton, but Arsenal at home is a different kettle of fish. So Saka on paper to me looks the best captaincy this week in isolation.
Right, stay tuned because later in this video, I'm going to be looking at the predicted points of all those players and other potential captaincy options as well. And I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler, guys. It's very, very close, according to Fantasy Football Hub's predicted points, as to who the best captain is this week. Before that, let's talk about your team, Abdul. It's on screen right now. You got 62 points, a pretty solid start. A lot of us, I suppose, did worse than that. There were some like crazy scores, people that bench boosted. Fergie's been on the channel already this week who, had an unbelievable start inside the top 100k almost. But I'm down at like 4 million rank. 62 seems pretty good, and your team did pretty well.
Yeah, I think obviously just rank-wise, it's quite irrelevant at the moment. I mean, I think a few more points, 10 more points, I'd probably be like in the top 100k or something. So yeah, but I'm really happy with the start, Jack. 62 points. If you look across the board, I think, you're probably, if you got above 50, I think you did well this week. I think that was a decent week. So to get a 62, it's fantastic. It's the first time, I think, in the last 3 seasons I've had a good game week 1. So I'm happy to get that monkey off my back. I've always had like last 3 seasons. I've had really poor starts, so I'm really hoping I get off to I've had a good game week 1, but that doesn't mean I'm going to have a good start overall. So I'm hoping this continues. Happy with the picks. I was speaking to you about this kind of off air. I bought in the Rangers like in the last I'd say half an hour before the deadline because we saw Fabrizio Romano tweet about Douglas Luiz possibly coming to Forest, which would have possibly taken set pieces off or some set pieces off Anderson. So I thought it was quite close between them. So that was something that worked in my favour. The one thing I was happy about the most though was my 6 million forward.
Yeah.
Playing 90 minutes and being confirmed on penalties and obviously scoring the penalty as well. So although he only got 6 points, that was sweet.
Killing my double clean sheet. I mean, he killed your Williams clean sheet, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that was a huge net positive for you. A lot of us have at least one Forest defender. In my case, 2. Very annoying, but that's what you want from a player at 6 million, really, isn't it? Like if he's playing 90 minutes and on penalties, you can't really go too far wrong. That is looking like a good pick. Apart from that, what are your overall thoughts? Like key players that did better than you expected? Are you worried about any players in your team as we look ahead to Game Week 2 in a second?
No, not at all. I mean, I think Wirtz, I expected a bit more from him, I guess, in the Liverpool game, but it's his first game, so I'm not panicking. Spurs double clean sheet was fantastic. Chelsea looked good in defence. I mean, I've not got many issues. I mean, I guess Forest probably would have kept that clean sheet if it wasn't for the penalty, so I'm not worried about Nico Williams either. I'm quite happy that Murillo and him were quite similar on the DEFCON because that's one thing I really was worried about going Nico Williams over Murillo was because he was one of the best defenders last season for the DEFCON points. defensive contributions. So yeah, but it's one game, so we need to kind of gauge
Yeah,
that
I'm pretty
over.
sure I'm pretty sure that
Yeah, yeah.
because I think Murillo definitely is still one. A lot of people were saying, what happened there? You only got, I don't know how many you got, 3 or 4 defensive
They were
contributions.
surprised. Yeah, yeah,
It's like, yeah, don't worry. I mean, like Van Dijk's not going to get 20 each game either. This thing is
yeah,
going to average out. It might be harder to predict than we thought, but I think overall, the players that you expected to do well on the whole did actually do quite well. A lot of people aren't saying that, but I actually think that was the case. Although I do think you got to take it game by game.
yeah, and
Forest dominated the game, so they're not going to do that much
yeah.
defending.
And yeah, exactly. And you can't expect all your players to return. I mean, in every single game. So
Yeah.
overall, with that 11, you've got to be happy with that. And I'm not honestly like each one of my 15 picks, I'm actually quite pleased with
Okay.
because the Dubravka start. Well, I guess actually Dubravka did start obviously, but Gay he didn't get any minutes off the bench. So yeah, so maybe 14 out of 15 I'm happy with. I was expecting Gay to be benched, but get some minutes off the bench. If you got a good amount, then I could have possibly done a bench boost this week. But I think it's too risky now. Hopefully, he starts getting minutes soon though.
Yeah, I'm the same as that. I was looking at a Gameweek 2 bench boost, but doesn't look like he's going to play.
Yeah.
His predicted points have fallen quite a lot as well. He was at like 2-ish. Now he's down at just 0.5, which is really
Yeah.
not a good sign at all. But apart from that, the team's looking pretty good. Yeah, I agree with you. Like, the Tottenham double defense, that's done very well.
Yeah.
What are you thinking with benching dilemmas this week? This is a big one. A lot of us have
Yeah.
a very solid like first choice keeper and Dubravka, and then we may have the likes of Estev, who
Yeah.
normally is there for a backup. But yeah, what are you thinking with those players?
So at the moment, I've got Dubravka on the bench. I've
Okay.
got Anderson first bench, then Gahey, then Van de Ven. So I'm playing Esteve obviously, and I think I checked the clean sheet odds this morning, and Chelsea are like 2%. They're like 38% to keep a clean sheet, whereas Burnley are 36%. So it's not much in it, but I think when it comes to clean sheets and especially with the goalkeepers, I'll just go with the clean sheet odds. And it does kind of hedge that bit as well, rather than doubling up on the Burnley defence with Dubravka and Esteve. The one thing I'm not sure on though is I playing Porro or Anderson.
That is such an easy decision, in my opinion.
You think so? Who?
Yeah. I play
Anderson?
Anderson all day long.
Well, the thing is, right? Okay, City is a tough game, but usually in the tougher games, Frank usually plays like the back three with the flying wing backs.
Yep.
So I think he will play that formation this game. So I think, yeah, he's got a much higher chance of conceding, but I think he's got a much higher chance of getting an attack in return. I know you're going to say Anderson's really good for the DEFCON, so that's playing on my mind as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure on that. I mean, I could well do that. I could well just play Anderson over Porro, but at the moment I've got Porro in there, so I'll see how I feel at the end of the week.
Yeah, fair. Maybe I'm a bit too aggressive with that. I just think, despite the fact that Porro is going to be a back five, they're playing a back five not to have attacking wing backs. They're playing it to defend. So I think he could get forward at certain instances, but we saw in that PSG game he wasn't flying forward. He got an assist, sure, but it was from a set piece. That could happen again, and obviously he has more upside than Anderson in terms of going forward. I don't know. I feel like Anderson, I said it early in a podcast earlier on Sky. I feel like Anderson is getting a 10-pointer in that game. I think he's
so.
hitting DEFCON. I think he's getting a couple of bonus. I don't know. Like United look good, but
They did, yeah.
they didn't score. And Arsenal play pretty poorly.
But yeah, honestly, United were really unlucky not to score, and they did
Yeah.
look good. And United, despite being away from home, are favourites in that game. Yeah, I mean, they both probably concede. I guess it'll probably come down to whether there's more chance of Anderson getting DEFCON points or whether there's more chance of Porro getting an attack in return. I think if putting it that way, Anderson probably is the better pick. He's probably more chance of getting those defensive contributions and other than the attacking return, because attacking returns are a lot more rarer. So yeah, I'll see. I think I'll see how I feel, because I do think there is that possibility. I think even against Burnley, like Porter was a lot more subdued than he was last season.
Yeah.
And obviously that's something that Frank has probably taken into consideration. I think what was it, Jed Spence or one of the defenders were talking about how Thomas
Yeah,
Frank really
it was
wants to
Spence, yeah.
shore up the defense and things like that. So yeah, who knows?
Yeah, interesting. Okay, let's talk about some potential problems in your team now. If you've known Abdul for a while, if you've been on this channel for a number of years, you'll know that Abdul is a very patient manager, and I think things would have to go very wrong for you to make a transfer after one game week. So none of the
Yeah.
players I'm about to mention are you going to transfer out. I know that. And you can explain why if you like, but I think people should know by now. But let's talk about Palmer, Bruno Fernandes, Wirtz, and Watkins. You spent a lot of money on them. A lot of us have,
Yeah.
and none of them returned. So what's going on there?
Yeah, it's just look, as I said before, you can't expect your players to return every single game. I mean, only kind of really Salah and Haaland, I guess, are the ones who you expect to return more often than not. So, I mean, look, you pick your players, you don't just pick them for one game week. You pick them for the fixture on, or the 4 or 5 games, or the first wild card, or whenever you planned. And that was the plan with me going into game week 1. I'm not going to change that based on one blank. And on top of that, I really liked what I saw from Bruno Fernandes. He was great. He was one defensive contribution from getting 12 and
Mm.
getting an extra 2 points. I think United were really unlucky not to get a penalty, and they were attacking a lot of that game. A few last ditch challenges, or one really good save from Raya, so that game could have been totally different. Bruno could have had a few assists in that game, so not totally happy. Watkins, I mean, Villa were really poor, right? Especially in the first half. They're just looking so sluggish, and Newcastle were all over them. But he did in the second half get a few good chances. I'm not going to just put him off after one game. So, and then on top of that, like the two players, like for example, Palmer and Watkins, who have probably had the poorer games, have got a really good fixture next week against West Ham and Brentford respectively. So I'm happy to give them those fixtures and beyond as well. Wirtz is one where again, look, it's like Liverpool have got Newcastle, which is not an easy game, but I think there'll be goals in that game, so I'm happy to give them that. And then they've got Arsenal at home. I think if you get to game week 3 and he's not done anything, or he's getting hauled off early, or there's worries there about his minutes, then I look at Wirtz, I guess, and possible replacements. But right now, I'm giving him some time.
Yeah, I wonder if people will start to get a little bit twitchy if he doesn't return against Newcastle, because then it is that Arsenal game, but then it's Burnley away, Everton at
Yeah.
home. So I just don't think I'll be able to sell him at all until game week 5, until game week 6, personally, unless things really don't look that good for him.
I think the only way we sell him is if his minutes become a real worry,
Yeah,
like
that's a good
he's getting
point.
hauled off like before 60.
Yeah.
And then there's a possible doubt surrounding a starting berth as well. I think that's when we look at getting rid. But as long as he's getting the minutes, I think we keep him for the long haul.
Now, interestingly, Abdul, that is the exact same thing that Fantasy Football Hub's AI is suggesting as well. Just remain calm, let the players sort of play out, don't make any rash decisions over 1 week. Yeah, as you can see on screen, we recommend making no transfer this game week. Why should I save my transfer? No transfers? Great news. It will allow you to make bigger moves with more impact over the next game weeks. It also just suggests that your team is probably in a decent spot right now, and just have a little bit of patience. If you're thinking of sort of knee-jerking, or you think there may be higher upside in another player, I would really recommend you have a look at this yourself for your own team. It just is a great barometer of where your team's at. If it does suggest a transfer, like for me, I'm being suggested Mateta in for Joao Pedro, which is making me think. I don't think I'm going to do it, but it is suggesting that transfer. Then if it is suggesting a transfer for your team at this stage, maybe there is something to be done there. But if you're not getting a recommendation like Abdul's team on screen, it just shows that your team is in a good place, and maybe patience is the best thing there. Link down below if you want to get your own recommended transfers, by the way, guys. It's 50% off. You get them all season long, each and every game week. I know I've banged on about it in pre-season, but now is the time to actually utilize this week in, week out. Abdul, what do you reckon? No transfer recommended. Is that for you? Is the reasoning for that more because you don't want to sort of like waste a transfer, and you think patience is best to build up the free transfers in your FPL account? Or is it so that you can be more aggressive later? Like, is it a patience thing to then be more aggressive? Or is it more just like, no, I'm happy with my team, I don't need to be aggressive really ever?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's first of all, I don't need to do it. So whether I need to be aggressive or not, like the circumstances will dictate that in the future.
Mm.
But it's always better to save your transfers if you can. I mean, if it's a 50-50, then always save the transfers, especially at the start of the season, because the transfer window's still open. There's a lot of transfers going to be happening. Like, there's news of Isaac possibly going to Liverpool, Eze to Spurs, Strand Larson to Newcastle is seen as well. So I mean, you really need, and those are 3 quite popular options. or they will be, when they move. So just for that reason alone, I think it's good to save up your transfers until at least the first 3 game weeks after up until the first international break, and kind of reassess from there. I mean, in terms of whether you should make a transfer or not, though, I mean, if you really need to make one, like you don't have to force yourself to just save just for those reasons. Like if your team is in dire need or if you've made like a major mistake or you've got an injured player, for example, then, by all means make it. But I think at this stage of the season, if you can save your transfer, and I think in most cases, most managers should be able to, even if they've got an injured player there, because it's game week 1, you should have a decent bench option where you can, possibly bench a player who's injured or whatever, or suspended. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. I was thinking about this actually on Saturday and Sunday. Because I was very similar to you, I changed to Reinders instead of Anderson very late on. If I had kept Anderson and I'd seen Reinders play the way he did on Saturday night, I would have been very tempted, I think, to make that transfer. And I'm sure that quite a few of you guys watching right now did make that transfer. Maybe that's the right move. Maybe it is. However, I think there's a world in which Anderson and Reinders are both in like the best team, because Anderson did exactly what we expected, was one defensive contribution away from an extra 2 points as well. Easily could have got that clean sheet point. If that happens, he's pretty much matching Reinders anyway. He's getting 9-10 points from a 5.5 million mid. That's unreal value. So I think the point I'm trying to make is maybe by waiting and not making that move, and I'm not saying Reinders isn't a great player to get in your team, by the way, but maybe it would allow you to wait another week and then actually transfer out someone like a Wirtz for Reinders instead, keeping Anderson.
Yeah.
And then with that extra cash, you could do whatever you wanted. So it's that extra week's worth of information that maybe actually Anderson is completely fine. Just because those two players are the same price doesn't mean you should swap one for another. Don't know what you think about that, Abdul, but it's just something I thought. Because I think I would have been very close to knee-jerking it. But the next day I thought, actually, maybe not.
No, I totally agree because Anderson was great. I mean, like as you said, he could have ended that game. Like he wouldn't have got the 3 bonus because Wood scored 2, but he could have got 9 points in that game if, let's just say, they kept a clean sheet. Brentford never got a penalty, and he just got that one defco, and that's like, it's fine lines between his 5-pointer and a 9-pointer there. And there will be games this season where he gets that 9-pointer off an assist. So he's a perfectly fine option. And to be honest, I don't see Reinders. I mean, I watched that game. I don't see him getting many DEFCON points this season.
No,
but he will.
Not.
Yeah, he will get the goals and assists. It'd be interesting to see where they both end up because I think Elliot definitely, Anderson, sorry, he's definitely still got the more expected minutes. I do expect Reinders to be benched here and there, but seeing how he played yesterday, I think he's going to play more often than not. So I think for 5.5 million, taking the bench in here and there is fine, I think. But yeah, I totally agree. If I had Anderson, I'd probably keep and then look to get Reinders possibly in the next few weeks because you've got some cash cows there like Wirtz, like possibly Bruno Fernandes as well.
This is a controversial statement, but I reckon that if we knew Anderson was nailed on for the season in terms of they weren't bringing in someone like a Douglas Luiz and we expected his minutes to be as we expected pre-season, I think he would outscore Reinders across the season, which I don't think many people are going to agree with me in the comments down below, but I still think Anderson is a really good pick. If you have him, I would definitely be keeping him for these first 6 game weeks. I wouldn't be going to Reinders. I'll maybe find another way to do that. Let's round this video off. I spoke about it in the intro with player points predictions for this week and this week only. I've got 4 on screen. These are the 4 players with the most predicted points for this game week. It's Salah, Saka, Haaland, and Palmer. Now, if you want to see any other players, guys, then you can have a look at the player points predictions for every single asset in the link down below. Just click on it. It's very simple. I'm just going to talk about these 4 today as they are the highest. But, if you're thinking of captaining a Watkins, Gyökeres not on this list, Semenyo, for example, see where their predicted points are, link down below, or any other player. But I'll read this out, right? So Salah is predicted to score 7.2 points. Saka, 7.2 points. Haaland, 7.1 points. And then Palmer's actually down at 6.4. So those top 3 are literally pretty much the same, which is very rare to see that.
Yeah.
And then Palmer is a little bit below. Does that make you change your opinion on who the best captain is? Or how does that affect your thoughts?
No, I think it just kind of backs up what I was saying earlier. Like those four are the top. I didn't expect, I guess, Palmer to be that many points behind the other
Yeah.
three. But if you asked me to predict it before you told me them, I would have guessed Saka would be top by, maybe point 0.3 or 4 above Salah. But yeah, I guess Salah's minutes and his penalties come into play. And I don't know if that's possibly taken the effect that Gyökeres might be on penalties as well for
I
Saka,
think it's slightly. Yeah, well, I know for
because
sure that Saka's penalty share is not 100% like Salah's is.
yeah, it's not, because I think there was some Swedish newspaper as well or some Swedish journalist who said that Gyökeres is confirmed on penalties.
Yeah.
Apparently it's quite a reliable Swedish source. I think it was FPL Cal on Twitter who tweeted it. So if you guys want to check it out, you can. I think it's FPL underscore CALLE who posted the link. If Gyökeres is on penalties, then Salah's the better option this week, I think.
Interesting. There we go. Let us know your thoughts down below. Do you agree with these predicted points? Again, if you want to see every single player's, then it's super easy. You can see right there. Search by player or team, or just scroll down. Link to do that is all on the website. If you still haven't signed up, don't worry. It's only been one game week. You've not missed out on loads. Get your recommended transfers, see all the player points predictions, all the Opta stats, my team tool for future game weeks. There's everything you could ever want in an FPL tool on Fantasy Football Hub. Abdul, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see what your team ends up with, who you end up going with for captaincy. I think it
Yeah.
would be Salah, but you never know. On Fantasy Football Hub on the website, your final team will be revealed before deadline, very close to it this Friday evening. Thanks, mate, and good luck to all of you guys as well.